Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope that you all are doing well. We finally have some moisture in the Rocky Mountains, but it's in the form of snow as opposed to rain. But I'm hoping that that is actually putting out our fires. Um, so I wanted to, first off, I wanted to let you all know, in case you did not see the Athena Festival that I was going to be doing readings at in November. I usually do this event. It's been canceled. Well, moved to next year, which it's every year in November. But just letting you all know that the Athena Festival is canceled for this year, unfortunately. But that's what happens during a global pandemic. So I wanted to talk tonight about Mars retrograde because that actually has gone into effect or has happened today. And what all that actually means. Right now, so this is I think we have 5 planets retrograde right now because Mercury is finally, you know, direct. But Mars retrograde, out of all of the planets in retrograde, always makes me the most nervous. Mercury, that's annoying. Things cannot happen correctly, technology may not work, things like that. It's more frustrating than anything. And it also happens, like 3 times a year at least. And the other planets in retrograde, they bring up their own things that we have to deal with. But Mars retrograde always makes me the most nervous because of everybody that doesn't understand what it is and how we are all affected by the planetary energies and the stars and everything. So it is going into retrograde today, and it stays until November 13th. So that's about 2 months there. Mars retrograde does not happen but every 26 months. So it's a little over 2 years. So that's really rare to have Mars in retrograde. And if you go back and look through history and see when Mars was in retrograde, you're probably going to see that there was a lot more violence that had happened during that time span. So that's why it always makes me a little more nervous than the other planets in retrograde. And this Mars in retrograde is in Aries. So what does that mean? First off, anybody that is Aries, they're going to be struggling with this time frame absolutely the most because they are going to feel the least like themselves. Mars is the warrior planet. He helps us to go through life, to go through our challenges. He is ambition, goals, sexuality, obviously war. And so it's that type of very intense energy that Mars represents. And Aries is ruled by Mars, and so this Mars retrograde being in Aries, that's why people with Aries for their zodiac sign, their sun sign, will find this to be more challenging than everybody else. With the Mars retrograde, this is going to bring about a lot of frustration because usually with Mars we have that very charge forth and go through life and get through the challenge and do the thing. And we're going to be really frustrated because we're not going to be motivated. We're going to be really confused. We're going to be really lack of motivation as far as our personal goals. But it also brings about, with the frustration, it brings about unleashed anger. And so we're going to see a lot more rebellion. I feel riots stemming from the protests. There's also going to be a lot of sexual tension because there's basically not going to be any sexual energy, and so everybody's going to be really frustrated with that. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty because we don't have that direct here. Like we go from here to here, and that's how Mars works. Is very clear cut, very in your face, very forward that way. And so with this uncertainty, we are going to become really confused maybe. And that's where that lashing out, that knee jerk reaction, the unplanned anger is going to come out. Okay. So what are some things that we can do? Obviously, we need to slow down. We need to slow down whenever we are encountering something that we don't know how to handle, rather than, oh, well, if I just keep on plowing through, I'm going to figure it out. Well, that's not going to actually happen. We're going to just keep getting more and more frustrated because things are not going to be completely clear for us. Okay. Finding productive ways to release all of this anger and frustration and all of those things. So that's including any type of exercise, meditation. So with the retrogrades, everybody feels that it's just a time when everything goes crazy and then we go back to normal. When in fact, the retrograde when the planets go retrograde, it's sort of, and it's not that the planets are actually going backwards. It's just because of the shift in their orbit, it may look like they're going backwards, but they're actually not. Okay. But these are times that we have to reflect on whatever the energies of that planet represents and also how it is within ourselves. And so, say Mercury retrograde. Yes, crazy things can happen with technology, with communication, things like that, but it also is sort of like forcing us to think of how we communicate with other people more efficiently, taking that step back, maybe thinking before we just act on purchasing another thing, or even hopping on a plane. It sort of forces us to slow down, to look at our ways of communication. So that's with Mercury. So with Mars being our driving force that can really help us to plow through any type of challenges, when we're having to slow down because we are uncertain and confused, and we don't have that, oh, let's just go forward energy, then we need to just take that step back and see how we deal with our own anger. Okay. How do we express ourselves when we are, uncertain, when we are confused, when we are frustrated, all of these things? How can we utilize this time to make ourselves evolve, make ourselves, understand what our challenges actually are. Maybe you don't even realize that you are just flying off the handle at all times. So if that's how you handle any type of frustration or anger, then this is going to be a really intense, crazy time for you, because there's going to be zero containment or zero trajectory of how you should deal with things. So if controlling your anger is already an issue, then this is the time to really look at how you deal with these anger issues. And this even gets to depression, because what is depression? Depression is anger turned inward. If you are frustrated, if you are not happy with your situation, if you are not happy with a person or, family or whatever it is, and you just absorb it and turn it inside of yourself, then that's where depression comes in. Okay. So depression is going to increase during this time if you do not find a way to express yourself in a constructive way, in a way that is not harmful to other people or to yourself. And so taking this time to really look at how Mars affects all of us. What is your inner warrior? Who is your inner warrior? What do you stand for? What are you passionate about? Right? Looking at those things, and really reflecting what I was saying, that slowing down, looking at what our energy is that drives us forward. What is our warrior path, or even just being a social warrior? That is social justice warrior. What are you passionate about, and how can you bring forth in a maybe different way than just through action? Okay. And a lot of people get really frustrated when they can't express themselves. And so then, a lot of people actually turn to crying because they are just bottling up and they can't handle it. And, and then they get even more angry at themselves. And then it just gets into this whole, spiral downward. When it's, let's just take a moment to look at what is frustrating us. Okay. Is it, a certain, disability? Is it a certain person? Is it a situation? What is it exactly that is frustrating or angering you? And how can you go about handling it in a different manner than what you have in the past? Okay. So the reason why I'm talking about these things is that, I think that we often see, all of the planetary, alignments and the stars and all of this stuff as, well, we're just, atoms just floating along, and that we're just going to get bounced around whenever things, affect us, when in fact we can try to take some control in that situation, take some control in how we respond to outside sources, to external forces that affect us in a certain way. Okay. So that we can do it in a more constructive manner, so that we can reach a different outcome than what we've had in the past. So let's take some time to try to obviously avoid conflict. If there are certain people that really bring about frustration or anger with you, then maybe this is the time to just sort of like not contact them, or just, be on vacation for 2 months, during Mars retrograde, or, just don't go to work for, no, you don't want to do that. You need to go to work if you need to, but that's part of the challenge, right? Is if there are people that you work with that really they just boil your blood, okay, so what is it that they do? Okay. And how can you change that situation, that rather than just constantly being angry, being frustrated, being depressed, all of those things? Because I hate to tell you, but we're in for an even wilder ride. We thought that 2020 was, cuckoo cuckoo beforehand, but now it's going to be even crazier with Mars retrograde, with all the people that are not aware of how they are affected by all of the external sources, and they may not even believe in that stuff and all that other stuff. Well, yeah, good luck with not thinking that you're affected by the full moon or anything like that. Okay, so just take some time to reflect on your inner warrior and what are your triggers for anger, for depression, for all of these things, so that you can try to deal with them in a better way than what you have in the past. So that way you are not just caught in the breeze, just like a leaf, and that you're just tossed around and you have no control over it. Okay. And also, just heads up, those people that are in your lives, or that or even that you don't know, they're going to be acting even more erratic than before because of these very issues, but they're not aware of it, or they don't believe in it, or whatever it is. Okay, so this is just a forewarning that things are going to be amplified concerning anger, concerning frustration, concerning all of these things that revolve around Mars. Okay. So I hope that this is helpful. I hope that you're able to try and find new ways of dealing with these things. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me or email me. And I do write about this stuff in my newsletters. So once again, just go ahead and contact me with your email and I can add you to my list. I do have some time left tomorrow evening, as well as on Monday evening. I do have some times left as well then. I'm not going to be in the office this weekend, but we can set up a different time for you if you need to. Okay. So I hope that this helps a little bit, if anything, just to give you a heads up, and also just to really try to find some constructive ways of dealing with these next 2 months. Okay. So you all have a good evening, a nice, calm and relaxed evening, I hope. Nothing with contention or strife or gnashing of teeth or anything like that. And have a good evening, and I will see you next Wednesday. All right. Bye-bye.